by Ted Hughes. Ted Hughes was born on 17 August 1930 in England. His wife was Sylvia Plath, whom he met at a launching party for a literary magazine which he co-founded. And by the time he died on October 28, 1998 in London, he had written more than a dozen books including poetry and non-fiction. Hughes' lengthy career included over a dozen books of poetry, translations, non-fiction and children's books. Hughes, such as The Iron Man, one of his most famous works is The Iron Man, which was published in 1968. His books of poems include Wolf Watching in 1990, Flowers and Insects, Selected Poems, Moortown, Cave Birds, Crow and Lupercal. His final collection, The Birthday Letters, published the year of his death, documented his relationship with Sylvia Plath, his wife. The Hawk in the Rain, Lupercal, Cave Birds, Crow, Moortown, Selected Poems, Flowers and Insects, Wolf Watching, The Birthday Letters. These are all some of his notable works. Edward James Ted Hughes was a born modern English poet, and critics ranked him as one of the best poets of the period. Among the most important poets of the later half of the 20th century, Ted Hughes' special contribution to English poetry lies in the creation of a poetic world with a central interest in wild animals and birds. So he kept the wild animals and birds as the center of many of his works. So his poetry lies in he contributed to English poetry in making a different kind of genre with a central interest in wild animals and birds. So the poem The Laburnum Top. The laburnum top is silent, quite still in the afternoon yellow September sunlight. A few leaves yellowing, with all its seeds fallen, till the goldfinch comes with a twitching chirrup, a suddenness, a startlement at a branch end. Then sleek as a lizard, and alert and abrupt, she enters the thickness, and the machine starts up, of chitterlings, and a tremor of wings and trillings. The whole tree trembles and trills. It is the engine of her family. She stokes it full, then flirts out to a branch end, showing her bird face identity mask. Then, with eerie delicate whistle chirrup whisperings, she launches away towards the infinite. The laburnum subsides to empty. Dear children, the poet here describes his experience of what he witnesses in the laburnum tree. It begins by describing how the leaves of the tree are yellow. As we can see here, a few leaves yellowing. The laburnum top is silent, quite still in the afternoon yellow September sunlight. The color of the sunlight is yellow, a few leaves yellow, all its seeds fallen. Moreover, he notices that the treetop is still and remains silent even in the month of September. Now, due to the autumn season, the tree has lost all its leaves and the seeds are on the ground. The seeds are all fallen. Most noteworthy, the poet uses yellow to describe both the leaves' color and the sunlight. Over here, the yellow color represents silence, death, and beauty. Thus, he uses this color and describes the whole setting perfectly. After that, he notices that the death-like scene of the tree comes to an end when a goldfinch bird perches on it. The tree makes a sudden chirrup sound upon the bird's arrival. Who is the bird here? The goldfinch bird. He compares the quickness, the speed, the alertness of the bird to that of a lizard. When she starts moving, towards the thickness of the branch, the nestlings start chirping and flapping their wings. Thus, due to this movement, the tree also starts shaking and thrilling. The whole tree, by the bird's movements, it starts shaking and trembling. Thus, we notice how the poet gives two contrasting scenarios while describing the tree. First was that it was death-like, and then it gains life after the bird lands on it. So see, there are two scenarios. First is the tree was almost dead-like. Then it regains life. Life gets restored back. For whom? For the goldfinch birds. Okay. Further, the poet finally realizes that the goldfinch bird and the tree are the engines of her family. When she brings food for the little birdies, she moves to the end of the other branch. He describes the bird's appearance. It has a stripped face, which is dark in color. After that, her body is yellow and thus blends in with the yellow leaves of the tree. As we have got in the first stanza itself, we have got the reference of the yellow leaves. Finally, after reaching the branch end, she makes a rather sweet chirping sound. The poet compares this sound to whispering as she flies away in the limitless sky. Thus, after the bird leaves the tree, the laburnum tree once again becomes silent and dead-like. Now let me give you a stanza-wise explanation. The laburnum top is silent, quite still in the afternoon yellow September sunlight. Few leaves yellowing, all its seeds fallen. So what is a laburnum tree? It's a short tree with hanging branches, yellow flowers, and poisonous seeds. The poet says that he saw a laburnum tree whose leaves were yellowing. The tree's top is still and silent in the daytime of September month. It is autumn season and all the seeds of the tree had fallen. The poet has used the word yellow for leaves and sunlight. So there are two connotations of the word yellow. That is, one for leaves, description of the color of the leaves, and the other is for sunlight. Yellow symbolizes silence, death, and beauty. He describes the whole scene of the tree with this color. This was about the first stanza. Second, till the goldfinch comes with a twitching chirrup, a suddenness, a startlement at a branch end. Then sleek as a lizard, and alert and abrupt, she enters the thickness, and the machine starts up of chitterlings and tremor of wings and trillings. The whole tree trembles and thrills. So see, the tree which was few minutes back, it was dead. It was almost dead. That particular tree comes back to life once more on the arrival of the goldfinch bird. Now, what is a goldfinch bird? If you can see, this is the goldfinch bird. A small singing bird with yellow feathers on its wings. A twitching chirrup means what? A sudden jerky movement. It's a sudden jerk. Then sleek as a lizard, very thin, sleek as a lizard, and alert and abrupt, she enters the thickness, and a machine starts up. A machine starts up of chitterlings and tremor of wings and trillings. The whole tree trembles and thrills. So what is the meaning of startlement? Startlement means a kind of surprise, a suddenness, a sudden shock. There is a sudden shock at a branch end. Why? Because of the arrival of the goldfinch bird. What is the meaning of chitterings? Chitterings means that to make a chattering sound, often produced by birds. Tremor of wings, of chitterlings and a tremor of wings. Tremor of wings mean involuntary vibration of the wing. So this stanza basically describes the movement of the bird and what impact did it have on the death-like the laburnum tree. Okay. So a goldfinch bird comes to end the death-like scene of the tree and makes a sudden chirrup sound. The bird, while being rapid, alert and precautious like a lizard, sits on the branches of the tree. As she moved towards the thickness of the branch, her younger ones started chirruping and doing vibrations with wings, making a sound like a machine. Because of the movement of the bird and her young ones, the tree starts to shake and thrill. The tree comes back to life. The poet has given two opposite scenarios of the same tree. Did you get my point? That the poet gives two opposite scenarios of the same tree. It's the same laburnum tree which was dead-like. And now, on the arrival of the goldfinch bird and her nestlings, the tree comes back to life once again. The tree first being death-like and still, and then giving life and shelter to bird and her young ones. So there is a kind of inseparable bond, a deep attachment between a bird and a tree. It is the engine of her family. She stokes it full, then flirts out to a branch end, showing her bird face identity mask. What is the meaning of flirts out here? Lead on to. She stokes it full. Stokes it means she adds fuel to the engine. She adds fuel to the engine. Fuel means she energizes, she nourishes the laburnum tree. Okay? And then leads on to a branch end, showing her bird face identity mask. What is the meaning of bird? Bird is here, strippy face. The laburnum tree and the goldfinch bird is the engine of her family. She provides food to her young ones and moves to the other branch end. Her dark-colored stripped face is visible as her body is yellow-colored and hides behind the yellow leaves of the tree. Then, with eerie, delicate whistle-chirrup whisperings, she launches away towards the infinite, and the laburnum subsides to empty. So see, eerie. What is the meaning of eerie? With eerie, delicate whistle-chirrup. Eerie means something very strange. We cannot understand. Very weird. Whistle-chirrup whisperings. It means gentle whisperings like the chirping of the bird. She launches away. She then again flies away back to the infinite sky. Towards the infinite means here infinite refers to the vastness of the sky, limitless sky. Subsides means diminishes. And the laburnum tree again diminishes into utter silence. After reaching the end of the branch, the bird makes a sweet chirping sound just like whispering and flies away towards the infinite sky. It again makes the laburnum tree silent and death-like. So this was about the poem. Now what are the different literary devices used? First is alliteration. Children, what is alliteration? It's a repetition of a consonant sound at the beginning of two or more consecutive words. The words may be placed side by side or nearby words. The instances of alliteration in the poem are as follows. September sunlight. Tree trembles. See the repetition of the word of the letter S in September sunlight. It's a repetition of a consonant sound. It's a repetition of a consonant sound. If it's a vowel sound, it would have been assonance. If it's an alliteration, then it's a repetition of a consonant sound. Okay? September sunlight, so this is S, repetition of S. Then tree trembles, repetition of the sound T. Whistle chirrup, whispering, W. Got it? Then next is simile. There is a comparison between two things using like or as. So there is a statement, there is a sentence in the poem, sleek as a lizard. So this is an example of, fine example of simile. Then a metaphor. An indirect comparison between two things. Generally, a quality is compared. It's an indirect comparison between two things. She enters the thickness and a machine starts up. So see, she has been compared to a machine. The noise created by the movement of the birds is compared to the machine's noise. Okay, it is the engine of her family. She is compared to an engine of a machine which adds fuels, as if she adds fuels to the family, showing her bird face identity mask. Then personification. What is personification? The attribution of personal nature characteristics to something non-human. We have done in many of our poems. What is personification? When we attribute human qualities to something non-human. The whole tree trembles and thrills. This is how can a whole tree tremble and thrill? This is a human being can suddenly shake or be thrilled and tremble. But this human attribute of trembling and thrilling is given to a whole tree, right? So the whole tree trembles and thrills is an example of personification. And finally, a transferred epithet. The figure of speech where the adverb is transferred to another noun, where the quality is transferred to another noun. Her bird face identity mask. So one figure of speech where an adjective is transferred to another noun, that is a transferred epithet. Identity mask. Her bird face identity mask. Her stripped face hides what is the purpose of a mask? It hides our identity, right? So a stripped face is getting bored. What is the central idea of the poem? The poem revolves around a laburnum tree and a goldfinch bird. The core theme of the poem shows us the repaying relationship between the two. What are the two things? That is laburnum tree and a goldfinch bird. Further, it begins by describing how the laburnum tree is pretty quiet in the yellow September light. He notices the yellow leaves of the tree and the seeds on the ground. It appears to be still, flitting till a goldfinch bird perches on its branch, as if it was waiting for a goldfinch bird to come and sit on its branch. The poet witnesses the tree coming to life as soon as the bird starts chirping. Upon the arrival of the mother goldfinch, the tree and the nestlings start chirping and become alive. She keeps flying in and out to feed her young ones. Thus, when she leaves, the tree once again dawns into elusive silence. Thus, what do we learn from the poem? We learn about the sweet and nurturing relationship between the tree and this bird and how they both play such important roles in their lives. Both of them have irreplaceable roles in their lives. Now, students, let us go through certain symbolical significance used in the poem. Life, a process and transformation. As we have seen in the Laburnum Top, the poet is trying to say that life is a process of exchange and transformation. We have witnessed how the laburnum tree, at the beginning of the poem, when the poet has expressed the laburnum tree, it has been described as a death-like scene, right, on the laburnum tree. It is without an emotion, it is silent, it is still. But it comes back to life, it transforms itself when on the arrival of the goldfinch bird. So people are alive because they undergo exchange of energy. In this poem, the poet has used the laburnum tree and goldfinches as a symbol of life and its fluctuations. As the goldfinch comes and goes, so there is a fluctuation and there is a transformation. He describes the visiting of goldfinches on the laburnum tree and how she has made a nest on it. When the goldfinches have chicks, it brings alive the tree as the chicks start to rustle and chirp. The goldfinches transform the tree and makes it alive. Without the goldfinches and the chicks, the laburnum is just another tree, a motionless tree. It will not have its true worth. The laburnum tree symbolizes the pattern of our life in general. Life is seemingly dull and inanimate, but it is the attitude of a person towards life that makes it meaningful and worth living. The goldfinch brings cheer, happiness, and mirth to the simple and inanimate surroundings. Its happiness is infectious and all-encompassing. It's the engine of our family. What does that mean? As engines start things and get them working, making them happier, so maybe the tree is the thing that makes our family work and keeps them happy and somewhat functional. Who are the members of our family? The birds, the nestlings. The engine seems to be comparing the strength and power of one's family to the strength and power of a machine. So the engine seems to be comparing the strength and power of one's family to the strength and power of a machine. As the machine keeps on functioning, the laburnum top refers to human emotions and how someone can drastically affect an individual's subsystem. The laburnum can be defined as a person who is living a routine and boring life, and suddenly a goldfinch comes and completely changes the perception of living of the laburnum. He loses his poisonous seeds and embraces the goldfinch. She ignites life into the otherwise dull laburnum and then she goes away. So what is the chief function of the goldfinch bird here? She ignites the life which was so long remaining dead. She ignites the life into the otherwise dull laburnum and then she goes away. She ultimately flies away to the infinite sky. The laburnum tree symbolizes the pattern of our life in general. Life is seemingly dull and inanimate, as I have told you. It is the attitude of a person. How am I going to deal my life? What would be my philosophy of life? What kind of life do I want to live? So life is what we make of it. If I want to make a dull life it will be dull. Life is actually seemingly dull and inanimate. It takes the shape of a person according to his attitude. The goldfinch brings cheer, happiness, and mirth to the simple and inanimate surroundings. Now, what is the significance of the yellow, the word yellow? It is well explained and extends from the beginning till the end of the poem. So the goldfinch is a yellow-colored North American bird, first of all, and the laburnum tree possesses yellow flowers. Next is the yellow color paints their appearances bright. The usage of the word yellow repeatedly in the first stanza symbolizes death, beauty, and silence. So actually it elucidates the melancholic condition of the laburnum tree, which is turned silent and is dying as it is without any seeds. All the seeds have fallen. Thus the poem Laburnum Top refers to human emotions and how someone can drastically affect an individual system. The laburnum can be defined as a person who is living a routine and boring life, and suddenly a goldfinch comes and completely changes the perception of living of the laburnum. He loses his poisonous seeds and embraces the goldfinch. She ignites life into the otherwise dull laburnum and then she goes away. So finally, the poem The Laburnum Top by Ted Hughes describes a mutual relationship between the laburnum tree, which is a large, beautiful and very quiet, alone, and a goldfinch bird, which is quite amusing, beautiful, but without a shelter. The laburnum tree gives the house to the bird and its young chicks, and the bird in turn takes away its dead silence. Thus the poet here in the poem wants to tell the readers the importance of living with each other. Every person has different capabilities and things. We should live with each other, coexist with each other, and always try to lend a helping hand, and the others will also do the same. Thank you.